Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I got a review for you of this little guy right here. This is the Boker A2 Mini. So, first off, I want to thank very much my buddy Andrew for sending this guy along. It's an interesting piece. I never got a chance to handle one, and, well, I'm glad I did. And so, there you go. Thank you so much for your generosity there, Andrew. Next thing, size comparison. Here it is next to your Spyderco Delica, steel wheel cut jack 3-inch, and your Ontario Rat number 1. This is a 3-inch blade exactly. And that's fine. It's a nice little size. Actually, and I'll do a quick thickness comparison because it's a little thicker than you might think because of the contouring on the G10. It's not terrible, but it is a little thicker than you might expect. So anyways, there you go. There is no disassembly on this little guy because it is, in fact, thread-locked shut. You will be hearing about all that and more in the ugly, rest assured. Then finally, this is an A2 knife. What that means is that this was designed by Andre Thorburn and Andre van Heerden. They have made a long line of, well, they're in that weird space between production, custom, whatever. But high-end knives, the A2 series, they're great knives. The real A2 knives are absolutely spectacular because it's two designers who are both great at what they do, doing things that they are great at. It's a weird thing, but okay, sure. Take that phrasing. Why not? So anyways, this is built by Boker to echo the A2 lineup there. They've done a successful job of that, at least. So anyways, let's talk about the good, the great, the bad, and the ugly of your Boker A2 here. First off, on the good side, I do love this blade because you have a nice flat portion here. You get a little bit of belly. Then you have this very attractive drop to it along with this beautiful swedge. I love this blade shape. I would love to see this blade shape on more things. This is just spectacular, both from a functional standpoint as well as from an aesthetic one. This is just absolutely great. Next thing, this is a very lightweight knife. You're looking at 3 inches here, but because it has very thin liners and mostly G10, okay, well, that's in grams. It's 67 grams. But sorry, guys, I need to move to the unit which the majority of my viewership prefers. It's 2.3 ounces for 3 inches, which is not bad at all. Next thing, this is a front flipper, which is still kind of unusual. There aren't that many people making front flippers in production. And a front flipper can be opened either using the lateral approach, where you kind of slide your finger along the top there, but this one is actually further back, which gives it sort of a better approach for the index finger front flipper flip, which is where you pull it back like that. It requires the detent to be perfectly dialed in, and in fact, when this knife, I had to oil it up a little bit, even though it's sealed shut. Before that oiling, that wasn't really possible, but look, I like the fact that they put a front flipper on here. Boker is one of few production companies that's doing front flipping these days, so that's nice. And then finally, on the good side, this does a really nice job recalling the A2 line. Again, I'll put it up next to a real A2 here, and this series is great, and here they're doing some similar things, like for instance, you can see the blue liners that are kind of a trademark of the A2 line are here. The nicely done G10 is here as well. You get very intricate machining on the scales there. You get a blade that very much looks like the Andres, that is, did this, and you know, nice backspacer as well. This knife really does look like it could be an A2 knife, mainly because it is. It just happens to be way, way, way less expensive. So there you go. That's what's good, is that it does a nice job recalling the A2 line. The front flipper thing is still unusual. It's very lightweight, and I do love the blade shape. To me, what's great about this guy is the machining on the G10, and I'm going to see if I can kind of zoom in here and show this off, because holy crap, this is nice. Not only do you get this little pattern of side-to-side machining here, but you also get a little bit there. You get the back spacer here, which is a full back spacer, by the way, which I just love. They need to do more of that these days. It's so often just little crappy backspacer at the bottom here. You get very nice machining across the top of it here. Then the clip itself is machined out of G10. We'll talk about the clip later on, but it's a nice little touch, and everything is beautifully contoured here. The machining on this G10 is absolutely masterful. They have done an excellent, excellent job of making this a beautiful, beautiful knife in the G10 department. So that to me is what's great about this 100%, is that machining on the G10. Let's talk about what's bad. Okay, first off, on the bad side, just to reveal the elephant in the room here, this is a $105 knife, and it's using VG10. VG10 is a knife that is a steel, that is absolutely good to go. It was a super steel at one point in time. Now it's a pretty solid budget choice. For this price, though, I gotta say, it doesn't impress me quite so much, but, you know, I'm willing to let that one slide. That's not super bad, and a lot of people love it, and frankly, it is a fine steel. So, okay, I guess that probably the least bad thing here. Next thing, there are sharp edges everywhere. Unfortunately, the inside of the liners are sharp. The back of the knife is sharp. The lock bar is very sharp. This is just like, it feels a little bit underfinished. Back here, this is sharp. These are sharp. Everything is sharp. Oh, man, is it sharp. Next thing, the blade billboarding here. Boker, really? Did you have to make it that big? Couldn't you put that right up here? Something like that. I mean, here it recalls the A2 design, and honestly, I'm not a super huge fan of it on this guy itself, but here at least it's recalling the original. But, Boker, come on, did you have to do this? I hate blade billboarding on gentlemanly sort of folders, which is a problem. Next thing, the lock bar on this guy is unfortunately another thin, pinchy Boker lock bar. You can see here if we zoom in, there is just not much to this lock bar. It is a very small little affair. And unfortunately, there is zero lock bar relief. There is nothing cut on this side to allow me to get at this lock bar. And so what you basically do is you jam your thumb into this little area here, and then you apply pressure in this direction. And that means that as you do this, one half of your thumb is pushing the lock bar forward, the other half of your thumb is being pinched. And given that it is a sharp lock bar as well, I just hate this freaking lock bar. And it has serious lock stick, as you hear in there. The lock bar is unfortunately very similar to what they did on the Boker Excalibur 2, which was the G10 version, and it sucked there too. So this lock bar is just not very good. And it's also super, super thin, but you know, this isn't meant to be a hard use sort of knife anyways. So there you go. Then finally, the front flipper tab on this guy, although I like the index finger ability when you've got it running in perfect condition, it's very small for a thumb sort of affair. You can do it, but I'm pretty familiar with front flippers. I think this is not going to be a great thumbed open option for a lot of people, and you can see even I am missing flips on a regular basis with this guy. So the flipper tab, although it's great to be able to do this index thing, is not super reliable for anything but that, and I don't necessarily love that. I wish this were maybe a little bit more prominent to give you a little more leverage, so that even if it were running a little less well, it wouldn't be perfect. Or it wouldn't be failing there. So that's the bad to me, is that this flipper tab is not super compelling to me, or move it back a little bit, which might make it, I don't know, whatever. It is a very thin and pinchy lock bar, has blade billboarding like crazy because it's a freaking Boker, has sharp edges just everywhere, and VG10 at this price is... it's okay, I guess. On the ugly side, there were a couple of ugly issues, actually. 4 of them, apparently. Oy, oy, oy. It is thread locked shut, which is ugly in and of itself. Come on, Boker. And especially when you've got these tiny little screws like this. Come on, Boker. You got to do better than that. Next thing, the heel of the blade is really unpleasant. If we take a look here, you can see here that they've completely failed to include a sharpening choil. But even worse, the grind is very long, and so you get an unsharpened portion down at the bottom here, and then you get just this ugly, ugly, ugly sharpening down at the end here. That's just not freaking okay. I'm sorry, guys. And considering that the originals do have sharpening choils, no, I'm really, really tired of this just, okay, I'm done grinding now thing. Makers, get that together. Next thing, the G10 clip on this guy is not a great thing. Look, G10 clips, not something I'm in love with generally, just because I've sprung too many clips to feel comfortable carrying a clip that I know won't necessarily bend but will break. But this clip sucks separately and individually because there's not really enough ramp to it. I actually couldn't get this guy in the pocket of the pants I was planning to carry without lifting the clip itself up off of that. And the clip happens to be right on top of, you can see there, a screw hole, which adds further to the friction, which is added further by the fact that it's on top of this very strong texturing area here, and there's just not enough spring to it. This is just a train wreck of a pocket clip. This is a knife that I just did not like carrying because of the clip. It's like every time you put this knife in your pocket, you are having to fuss over it. And given the durability questions, no, I'm sorry. I mean, look, they're willing to use a real clip. Come on, Boker, why aren't you? And so that's deeply ugly to me. And then finally, the price point on this guy, $104. That is a very optimistic price point, if we put it that way. If this knife were absolutely perfect in every other way, this would be a fine price given the materials construction here. But as it is, given all of these major issues and some areas of severe laziness, like come on guys, and come on guys, the price point is just kind of vaguely hilarious. I cannot picture paying $104 for this. As I was carrying this, as I was writing my review, before I looked up the price, I was thinking to myself, okay, this is a really nice $60 knife or so. That's a great price point for this. And then they damn near doubled it. Not great. So, to me at least, all of that is the ugliest. The price point is kind of hilarious. The G10 clip is not funny at all. The heel of the blade, and then it's thread locked shut. Just add insult to injury. Final conclusion. This is a knife that looks great, because it recalls a super high-end collaboration in the knife world, and it's got great machining on the G10, very excellent lines. You can tell that the Thorburn and the Van Heerden really put a lot of work and thought into the lines of this knife. The design for this is just 10 out of 10. This is a beautiful knife, and for the eye, I love it. There is a lot of effort put in by the designers, but then Boker got a hold of it. And unfortunately, then the contrast between Boker's A2s and the Andre's A2s becomes very, very apparent, because this guy has really sharp edges and crappiness all around. It's got the thin, pinchy Boker lock bar, as opposed to this guy where you have a lock bar cutout, which makes things very, very easy. It's thread locked shut with a poorly finished blade, and a clip that's just not great, and then the price tag, which is just LOL, no. And so, unfortunately, this is a great design that is done really, really poorly, and that I just deeply cannot recommend. And so, although this is the A2, I think this actually deserves 2 Fs instead. Anyways, hope this is interesting to you. Oh man, this is so beautiful to be so badly done. And yeah, have yourselves an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.